Okay, YouTube fans. Well, today I'm going to talk to you about replacing a ribbon cable in a Samsung T359 Smiley phone. And what you're looking at right now is my phone in 7 different parts. I've already taken it apart, and I have to say it was a little bit of a challenge. I have done some previous repairs on one a netbook and another in laptops, throughout my technical, I want to say, career, but this one was a little more challenging because it was very compact. What I did was, though, like anybody else would, I went on YouTube and I found someone who had disassembled a Samsung, not this style phone, but one previous. And basically, I needed to figure out, looking at my wife's phone, which she has the identical Smiley, how to begin taking this apart. Well, basically, it's a clamshell, and of course, my wife still has her casing on, but I'm going to take this casing off just for a moment. Put that there. And then I'm going to take this back casing off, if I can, carefully without messing up her phone. God forbid I cause a problem there. Now basically you just saw how I used my thumb and fingernail, but that's the same basic principle on how to get this one off. And basically you have to get the back cover off and the battery out, and there's some screws. Now for time's sake, I took this phone apart actually a few days ago. I've been so busy myself, but anyway, you'll see the screws. I believe there was 4 screws inside, but let's see, let's power this down. We might as well do it now. And of course my wife has it. Lock. Okay, unlock. That's my wonderful puppy. Well, she's not a puppy. She's 14 years old, and God bless her. But anyway, just power it down. Alright. And basically this comes out. And hers is pretty tight. Okay, there it is. Alright. Put that down right there. And then the battery. Alright. Put that right there. Now, this is how it looks. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And those 4 screws must come out before you start attempting to separate this, what I call clamshell. And you have to get your thumbnail or a very thin screwdriver and start on one corner. I would definitely open these sides up. It may not affect it, but I don't know. I just make it a habit of doing that. And then this pulls apart, and then you can get, this comes apart, and then you can get in, there's, I believe, more screws, and then you separate this half away at some point from the screen, and then there's still another inside part that it's still attached to the screen. And you'll notice right there, these 3 pieces there is what you're left with, and they do come apart. But anyway, now I'm just gonna move this to the side. This was part of my wife's phone right here, and I'll just put all this over here so we don't get confused for now. Okay, and we'll lay that over there. But anyway, I'm going to turn it over that way so you can see it. And that's what you're kind of left with. And I'm glad everything is somewhat in the picture without me moving the camera. So you're left with these three pieces here. Now, if you look carefully over here, here is the ribbon cable that actually broke. Okay. And that's what I had to order. It was, I believe, $6-7. And I don't remember if that included shipping, but let's say it's even, if it is $10, $11, or even $12, you're still, you know, you're repairing this phone, which at one point was, who knows, $300. Here's the new cable. Okay, that already came in a little package. You can't see the package in the back, but this is the new cable. Okay, right here. So that's the cable I'm going to replace or use and hopefully get this phone back up and running. It's a little tricky, but what I plan to do is I'm going to do it, you know, put this thing together and then go back to the video. It would be too cumbersome to really show you while I'm doing the video. It's also you kind of get distracted because you know you're on video anyway. But I'll do my best to show you intervals and once I get it together. But I believe what happened was, the reason it broke was every time I was doing this to text, that cable moves, or I should say bends. It bends because it's kind of long. And I was actually fidgeting at times as I had this phone, and maybe I, you know, at some point caused pressure or just from wear and tear, it broke. But that's the purpose of this cable, see? So when I'm like that, the cable's bent inside. When I open or expose the text keys, the cable stretched out inside. And that's how that basically works. So for now, I'm going to obviously put this cable in and pause the video and then try to pick up again. I may have to do this in 3 parts. I've done some past videos, but I believe with YouTube now, they allow you to put in a longer video. So let's see what happens. Okay. Okay, I'm back, and basically I've got in my hand, this is the actual LCD screen, but anyhow, I've studied this carefully, and what I figured out is that cable has to connect here first. If you look carefully, there's a little clip right there for this ribbon cable, just like on many computer boards, and you have to be extremely careful. There's a little tape. This tape, you have to pull this tape back, obviously some insulation tape, and then pull out the old cable, and then I'm going to put the new cable in and close this connector lock carefully. You definitely want to be careful here. You don't want to break anything in here, or the job is done at that point, or I should say undone. But anyhow, that's my step. So I'll get the cable in here, and then I have to feed the rest of the cable, and that's the cable over there. Matter of fact, let me just grab it. As you can see, that part slides in there, and then you close the connector. And this cable is very thin, so you want to be careful. But anyway, that's my next step, and when I get to that step, I'll be filming again. Okay, so now I have the ribbon cable locked down, and I kind of work this part in like this. As you can see, I had to kind of start it this way to get it in. Notice I want to be extremely careful. This cable keeps bending a little. And with this in my hand, I have to get this part this part, okay, under this piece, because it's going to sit like that, and bend this cable a certain way so when I attach the screws it'll all work right. So this is where you're at. Again, I'm showing this step by step, but of course I'm doing the work in between. So yes, it takes a little skill, but if you have the skill you can get through this. But I won't count victory until I'm completely done. So signing off again. Okay, now I reevaluated what I was doing before and found that this is not the next part. This is with the metal slide. So this cable has to go through this part first. Then this is your next part, which has the actual mini keyboard. Okay, and if you can see here, if you look carefully, I'm going to slide this down, and then you'll notice, now this is where you have to be careful. I don't want the ribbon cable. See how the ribbon sits in there and then it slides the keyboard down. And the ribbon cable stays like that, and then you slide it back up and it releases, and the cable has more slack. Okay, and what I just did, I don't suggest you attempt that, but because you could damage the cable obviously. Okay, so onward to the next step. Okay, so now I have this part now fed in. So as you can see, the operation of this cable is extremely tricky. But as you can see, now I don't have the cable down all the way. I want to be careful here. There's a little bend, so I'm going to have to work with this, because these two little holes right there go into this little peg here, and it's not sitting right for the moment. There's obviously a normal bend in this cable, so I have to figure that out. But this is where I'm at. I now have three pieces of the phone, or three parts of the phone together with this cable installed and fed through. And once I figure this cable, how to sit it on these little stubbies as I call them, then I'll tie in my, I believe I have 6 screws that'll hold this assembly together. And then I'll put my keyboard back in, and it just lays in there, you know, upside down. So then I'll be able to connect the rest of the phone, or this cable, to the main board, which is over there. Okay, now I have my camera by hand, because now I'm actually zeroing in to this part, which is very important. And basically I screwed down 4 screws, and here's one of them, 2, 3, 4, and I left 2 of the center out, and I would actually screw them down in that order so it'll evenly clamshell this piece. Here are the screws in case you ever maybe get confused. They're like a flathead short threaded screw, so you can't get confused. There's only 6 of these. They're silver. The other screws, just to back up a little bit, are black, and the threads are a little longer. And then there's 4 of those. Here are the other. Let me put these together so we don't get confused. Okay, now, so there's the 4 black ones, 2 and 2, and this silver one, I'm not sure where it goes. I'll figure it out as I go in reverse order, but it's only one of them and I can't miss that. So I wanted to stop here, so I'm going to put that one in and that one in using these 2 right there, and those are the silver flathead short threads. So hopefully we'll get this thing together. Now right now I'm using a piece of tape to hold this cable, because the way this holds in there, it uses the main board. When you tie this down on the other side, when you tie this down somewhere in the middle there, puts pressure on that cable to keep it tight. Okay. Okay, so now I found that to put this main board back in to hold this cable, I had to remove the tape. It looks like this may make some contact over here. Now you notice the cable just popped up. What I did was I added a little bit of this glue, and this glue will not harm it, just to hold it down long enough so that I can screw this down to hold the cable. So you'll have to try to come up with some ideas, and you can see a little bit of this sticky stuff right here, but it won't harm anything. It's just to hold it while I screw it down. If not, this cable could break or bend in some way and then damage the whole repair. Okay, so I was able to put the PCB back. I don't have the screws in yet, but what I did was, there's these little tabs, if I can show you, one right there, that black tab, and there's one over there. You have to get this main board underneath those tabs. It'll actually hold it in place. So that made it easy for me. Make sure your speaker goes back, and the leads, they're very thin leads, that they go in the right little space, or what I call grommet area, so that they don't pinch. Okay, so now I'm going to put these 4 black screws to hold down the main board, and I'm almost done. So far so good, but we'll see what happens. Okay, now I had to backtrack a little, and that happens sometimes when you don't videotape originally, or take pictures of the disassembly. But these 4 black screws that you see in this window frame or picture frame actually go one here, and if I was to slide this piece down on the inside on the other side. So I had to take this board out. I didn't screw it down, I just clipped it in, and I was able to obviously take it out without too much time or work. That's why you stop periodically and you assess what you're doing, so this way you don't do triple work. But now I know where these 4 black screws go, because the clamshell, remember that one silver screw I had left, goes on the back part of the phone. It just happened to slide out, and that was the one out of its little hole, and that's what screws in the end over these 4. So I'm going to do that now, and sure enough, I'm going to get this done. Okay, so I was able to put those screws, 4 screws, where they go. Now I have the main PCB board in place. All I have left is to close the new ribbon cable connector right there down carefully and tighten it, or push down on it, and it should lock. After that, I'm going to put the back clamshell back in, and this should be ready to go. So my next video will hopefully be the last part of this segment. Okay, so if you've been watching these small segments on this repair, here is my phone all back together. And basically what I did was, I didn't put those, if I can show you real quick. Well, okay, I'll back up the camera a little bit. I didn't show you those. Those are the last 4 screws. I didn't put them in the back because I wanted to first try it, and then I can put those screws in. The last part will snap into place. That was a trick, was to try to get, let's see if I can show you. I'm going to take the battery out. To get this part, the back part, back on to this assembly, and it snaps in. When you snap it back in, take your time. You have to work in the corners and then try to just snap them carefully. And taking it apart was also somewhat of a challenge, but you see this, if you can get your fingernail, I wouldn't use a screwdriver to get that out. That's how I got the clam shell off, or the back part off. That's how you start. But anyway, I'm going to put the cover back on to protect the battery. And by the way, these are the last 4 screws go in. Actually, if I can back up a little bit, go in here, so I can put them in after the video. But anyway, sure enough, here's the power button, and there it goes. I had already actually turned it on. That's my dog Susie. She's 14. But anyway, it is working. I don't have the SIM card in it because basically my wife and I did upgrade to smartphones, or a 4G, bigger screen. But anyway, this is a good phone to use as a backup, or who knows, maybe somebody else may want to use it. As you can see, I can get to the text box now, and not only that, I can get to my saved photos, so I can move them over, which I have, as you can just tell right there, 213 photos. So I definitely want those photos. So anyway, there you have it. Replacing the ribbon cable in a Samsung Smiley. Nice phone for its time. Well, like I said, we can use it as a backup. I really like this feature with the text keys. And basically this slide is, this was the whole reason with the cable breaking, like I explained earlier. But I would just open and close as needed. I guess I opened and closed too many times. My wife is still good, and we got the phones at the same time. So there you have it. I did notice there's a little wear there. Who knows? Maybe my phone did have something out of specification. It's hard to say. But anyway, there's the repair. I hope this video helps you or someone else you might know who has this phone and maybe an identical problem, or maybe some other problem, but at least you would be able to take it apart. Okay, so signing off.